Welcome to Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation possible. You will get to hear from CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve process challenges and how they've earned success in their careers. Along the way, we will touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, you will enjoy the insights these industry professionals bring to this podcast. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Lisa Richter, the host of Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation and processing possible. In today's episode, we're talking industrial automation with RT Bud Weightman, who is the President of Qualified Specialists International for QSI. In this role, he leads in two distinct ways. One, he serves as a standards consultant, helping organizations understand and follow important rules and guidelines, how to do things safely, efficiently, and with high quality. Two, he is a management system auditor, checking to ensure that companies are actually doing what they say they're doing through process reviews, talking to their teams, and looking at real-life evidence to help companies play by the rules, get better at what they do, and prove they're meeting the strict requirements that keep critical industries safe and reliable. QSI was founded by Bud in 1989 and is based in Houston. It has provided quality management solutions for companies in more than 30 countries. Most recently, Bud has been brought on board to be an additional resource for CSIA members looking to earn their CSIA certification or recertification because his sister company, CSE, provides the third-party audit that certification requires. Bud, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate it.
Let's start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about how you got started in this industry.
It was, I was right out of high school and I was working in a grocery store and I just said, this is not going to work for my career. And I grew up in a steel town and I didn't want to do that. And I saw how my father was after 30-some years. It was really tough. And so ironically, the next door neighbor had a position he knew about in a pipe plant. And he says, they have a new position in quality control. Why don't you go and interview for that position? And I think you'll get it. And I did. And got the position. I didn't know what quality control was, to be honest with you. But I fit right into the role. I was extremely curious about the mechanics of everything and how processes work. And so with that opportunity, I learned skills like non-destructive examination. I sought out certifications for those things. And with that was a bunch of other skills that came on board. And with that, it allowed me to propel myself forward and give me a little bit more perspective on some new things.
All right, so let's talk a little bit fast forward. Now we are founding QSI. Tell me a little bit. I mentioned in the intro, it started in 1989, but give me a little bit of the story behind that origin story and, where you are today.
Yeah, prior to QSI, I had another career or two. I worked in the U.S. nuclear industry and construction, and that sense of curiosity kept driving me forward, and I'd get more certification, and I worked on multiple plants throughout the United States, gaining additional responsibilities and additional experience. And then I worked for an architect engineering company that had a huge quality department, and we furnished quality personnel to the nuclear power industry. And so it allowed me to get into quite a few companies that were manufacturing for the nuclear industry and manufacturing for the oil and gas industry. And as I was going through all this process, I always was frustrated from going into these facilities and seeing that a lot of companies had what I would call cookie cutter management systems. They were copied from one company to the next, and all they had to do was pass an audit. That's all they were concerned about. So it was the frustration that led me to open up QSI in 89 and come up with our own methods of documenting these systems. So we had our own methods of protocols, and we incorporated technical requirements into those protocols that many other systems didn't. and we modified the protocols to each company that we consulted with to fit their business and their marketplace. And then from that, we expanded forward and we learned more. It allowed us to not just meet the requirements, but achieve measurable goals. And then eventually we introduced a suite of software for deploying management systems internationally. So it's been quite rewarding, and we see our customers gaining efficiency out of these systems and the lasting results. So it's very often that once we consult with them and we implement a system, we may get called back to do an internal audit, but many times we don't. And we don't take that as an offense. We take that as job done. So we're happy with that. So we keep moving forward with that thought in mind.
A little bit more recently, how has the company changed or grown, and what do you expect for the next 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, I think, especially with the relationship and partnership with CSIA, it's exposing us to a new marketplace that I haven't been in for a while. I've worked with system integrators through some of my past jobs and done some investigation of integration companies for subsea failures in the oil and gas industry. But it allows us the ability to not just conduct the audits, but to deepen our understanding of CSIA's best practices and to work on some of CSIA's committees. So hopefully we can bring our standards, knowledge, and management to CSIA. I've worked for 35 years in standardization, anywhere from chairing committees and participating. And so we hope to bring that on board with our clients and CSIA's clients to help their performance, their safety, to comply with regulatory requirements and CSIA system.
So you see your experience with like these for 35 years, but you can import all that experience into a system integration business or as you're doing your audit. So even though you have some experience with the system integration, all that collective experience helps you inform how you see things.
Ironically, I can't say it's the same, but it's very familiar, right? It all has commonality. So no matter whether I go to the nuclear industry, I go to another industry, to let's say aerospace, or just to a service industry working in the oil field, the quality management systems have similar content, right? And so when you take a look at the content, there's an approach in ISO called process auditing in ISO 9001. And basically that means one clause of ISO relates with the other clause, somewhere along the line. So that's more or less systems thinking. And when you go in with systems thinking, then you understand what a standard is trying to say, and then I can pull from that knowledge to use it.
When you're doing the CSIA audits, you're doing that via the CSE.
Right. Compliance systems evaluations.
Exactly. So can you explain the relationship between QSI and CSE?
Yeah. So in 2009, we were supplying auditors to the American Petroleum Institute. And so, it's an oil and gas, it's a regulated industry, high pressures, critical equipment, very caustic environment sometimes with hydrogen sulfide gas. And so it's very regulated. And based upon the accreditation program that the American Petroleum Institute is working under, they have to make sure that there is no perceived, and the quote is perceived conflict of interest between consulting and audits. So we form a CSE as a separate entity to provide that assurance that if we consult for a company, we cannot perform any audits for that company.
Makes total sense. Digging a little bit more into what your company's up to now, tell me a little bit about what you think the smartest decision your company has made recently.
Recently, I really do think this relationship with CSIA is going to be very beneficial from a lot of different aspects because of CSIA standing in the industry, and I'd be able to contribute to the standards development activities and participate in the audits and use that experience. So with all of the new things that are happening out there in the industry and with the economy, right? You're talking about trade tariffs, you're talking about inflation, material shortages, late shipments, finding competent personnel, and all these things. So it makes it very difficult. So with that, we're also bringing to it the development of new risk-based technologies on how you implement management systems and how you audit management systems, with the thought of taking the ISO 9001 words, risk-based thinking. and applying that to the practices.
So tell me a little bit more about what's unique about how you might approach an audit.
So audits are interesting. A lot of auditors I've seen, and I've done a lot of training of auditors, as QSI, and also for the American Petroleum Institute. I help them bring on new auditors, observe them, train them in how to audit. And it's really understanding the process approach and understanding how do you integrate risk with the process approach. So the process approach is taking an example of one specific aspect. And if you're going into a factory and you're looking at panel assembly, for example, okay, what else relates to panel assembly? So things like, okay, what is the documentation you're using? Well, there's controls for documentation. What about the personnel? Are they competent? Well, you're looking at what their job description says in their competency records. What about the personnel that are doing the inspection, testing, or verification? Then those personnel have to be qualified also, and there have to be procedures. That's process auditing. So you collect that evidence, they call it objective evidence, at that point in time to use it. Now, the risk-based approach I take is after, none of this has come overnight. This is after years and years of realization and finally waking up and slap myself in the head and saying, wow, I should have thought of that in the past. It's looking at certain sets of criteria first. And then with that criteria, I will know very rapidly if an organization understands quality management system requirements.
Let me ask you a question. Don't get mad. How many people in your life truly understand what it is that you do? I'm willing to guess the answer is not too many. I get it. So many of us toil in anonymity. But what if I told you that I have a place where you can go to meet and talk and commiserate with people who do understand what you do because they do the same thing? Amazing, I know. But that's really the bottom line what CSIA is all about. And recently, we've expanded our learning and networking opportunities to help you find your people. We are calling them special interest groups. These groups are aligned around topics such as emerging leaders or marketing, and they meet virtually throughout the year with some plans for meeting in person as well, probably in conjunction with the CSIA annual conference. We will be bringing more online throughout the year, but for now, if either of those topics sound interesting, go to www.controlsys.org/events to check out what we have lined up. Full disclosure, you do need to be a member of CSIA to join the marketing SIG, but the emerging leaders one is open to anyone who wants to give it a try. So why not take a minute and check out the upcoming schedule at www.controlsys.org/events. Your people are waiting. Why do you think your customers return again and again? What's the secret to repeat business?
I think it's mainly reputation, maybe a bit of attitude. I'm saying, I'm saying it in a good way.
Yeah.
I shoot, pretty straightforward. There's, it's not just do it my way or the highway. Every situation is different. So I have to take into account that there's always more than one thing that can happen. There's more than one way to implement something. And so even something as simple as implementing a statement out of any quality management system standard, even the CSIAs, is, using the word shall or should and saying, okay, we do it this way and only this way, right? And that in itself is a risk, right? So, no, actually, we do it more than one way. So you specify the boundaries around that should or shall, and then with that boundary, it gives you, a little bit more latitude. And so that and incorporating, the risk-based information into that, customers realize the benefits of their processes. They find out that if we're doing an audit for certification, like a consulting audit, preparing for certification, that we will find generally 50, 60, 70% more things that a typical auditor would find. And that's because of the experience in the industry, is decades, and, the way we look at things. And we also carry a variety of professional certifications. So we have to stay up on the knowledge and know what's going on.
I will say too, I haven't known you that long. I don't know, maybe 6 months or something like that. But what I have noticed about you is how intellectually curious you are and how all in you are. Like whatever you're doing, whether it's on LinkedIn, posting on LinkedIn or preparing for this podcast or what have you, you're just all in. You're like, let me download this. Let me read that. I'm going to I'm going to spend tonight preparing. And I just find that a very unique quality about you. And I appreciate that. I really do.
Well, it's one of those slangs I've got to know. The one thing I tell myself is, you've been a lot of places, you know a lot of stuff, but what scares me the most is I don't know what I don't know. And if at the end of the day, I leave some stone unturned, will that cause any undue pain or risk for my client? Is that a safety issue? And if somebody would have been hurt because of that, would I feel that? And the answer is absolutely. Working for some of the companies I have, they bring home a very strong safety culture and, making you understand that safety culture and that it's participatory. And yet you have to do it. There's no other way. If you don't do it, you're not there. Easy.
All right. So I'm going to add somebody with a high integrity and a strong ethical moral compass. I'm going to add that to the list of things I like about you too. So let's talk more specifically, some examples maybe of how audit or situation where you really, really helped a client.
So most of the areas that we go into, we'll help them identify the nonconformances for their future upcoming certifications. And so there are some big projects that I've been invited to. It's very timely. And it's some of those events you wonder where they come from. And I was asked one time by somebody in training, he says, could you tell me how you mapped out your career? Seems like it's perfect for everything you do. And I went like this, I shrugged and I looked up to the sky and I said, that's my answer.
Yeah.
It's the intuition. So it's going through that. So having said that, I've been at some interesting projects. One is with a huge drilling company and oil and gas company, but I work in the drilling department. And this was in the Middle East. And the reason I was given the job is because the company had downhole tools, and when they were drilling, their downhole tools would collect well data acquisition. And if a tool failed, that caused what they call rig downtime or non-productive time. And that means that rig for an offshore drilling ship costs, this is nuts, really about $1 million a day. And they were fined back a percentage of that time it was down for shutting them down, because in this particular case, they were a partner with an American company. They had something they call fast drilling techniques. And with the fast drilling techniques, they had to make the depths, they had to make the wells, and they moved from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And that was their model. And if you didn't do it, it was a problem. So this company had $10 million in failures. And that was the reason for bringing me on, only for that one company. So I did an audit, and this was several days investigating their processes for their oil tools. So when they use the tools, they bring them back, they disassemble them, they inspect them, they repair them, they refurbish them, they recalibrate them, and then they prepare them for offshore transportation again and for use. And I think it was like 75 contributing factors to maintenance downtime. And they flipped out over it. The company flipped out, not in a good way. They didn't want me back in. And so it was escalated into the oil company, and the oil company says, well, no, maybe this is your problem. And they stood behind me. And then the company had local, country presidents. Then they had an international president, and they brought him in for a meeting. So I could provide support documentation to what we did, and they were on board. And so within several months, we turned them around considerably. And so they said, well, you've done such a good job with that. There's not much to do but monitor it. Here's 6 more contracts. Go forth and do the same thing. Just okay. And we did.
Yeah.
So those types of things are extremely rewarding. And so it's project-based, it's collaboration. even under adverse conditions, right? So you learn how to deal with that, and it's just you keep moving.
Yeah. Plus, I bet you see a lot of different parts of the world. Super interesting.
It's fabulous. Yeah, I mean, well, not always, but
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting. And some of the conditions I've worked under, some of the places I've been that I never thought I'd ever see or even knew about.
Yeah.
And some were secret, some weren't secret. You know, very heavy safety requirements for like going offshore in the U.S. All the training you have to do, uh, helicopter underwater survival training, where they sink you in a simulator into a
No.
pool. Oh
You
yeah,
you did that?
yeah, yeah. Then you have to. It goes down. They tell you water comes up fast. Take your breath now. Then you have to don't release your seatbelt. Put your shoulder to the window. Knock it out. First time I didn't knock it out, and my eyes were like huge. And they have lifeguards in there with you. So there's only 4 people in the cab and 2 lifeguards, one for each set of students. And then they put you down 16 feet. You release the seatbelt because if you don't, you'll be on top of the cab. And then you swim your way out and follow the bubbles up. And
It's like
that's,
my worst nightmare.
yeah, mine too. And I was watching the people who were repeating the training, and I was looking at these big burly guys that work offshore, and I was looking at their eyes. I'm going like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. All right, let's go. And then they turn you upside down and repeat the process, right?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I hope you doubled your rates.
But no, it's good. It was a good job.
Yeah, I mean, it's good life skills training. I actually met somebody who that happened to in real life. He was a young man and fell asleep at the wheel and woke up and he was in water and could not open the door, whatever, broke his shoulder trying to get out. And very last minute, he thought to open the sunroof and he popped out just before it went under. I mean, unbelievable. Truly.
Well, they're selling devices for that now, especially here, well, in areas where a lot of water, like here in the Gulf Coast, they have little devices that you can punch the window that'll shatter it.
I
And
always thought that they're kind of BS though. I always
well,
thought it was a little gimmick.
what isn't is I haven't tried. I got a small one, and I didn't want to take out my car window. So
Yeah.
they have center punches that you could buy at a hardware store, like a Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's for woodworking or metalworking, and it's spring loaded, and it has a tip in it. It may not even be a tungsten tip, but you can set the pressure, and then when you push the punch against it, it'll spring and pop real quick. And when it pops, it shatters the glass.
Yeah.
So it will actually, you've seen the car windows, how they shatter, and it's like a safety glass, and it crumbles. And so I keep one of those in the armrest of my car.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I would freeze. I would, I'm one of those people when you need to fight, flight, or freeze, I'm freeze. So I'm toast. Just kidding.
At first you freeze
Yeah.
until those words go through your head, like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, now what?
Yeah.
And so you have to hope you have enough air for that and then move on, right?
Hi, Lisa. Danny, tell the good people who you are and why you're here.
Sure. I'm the Director of Digital Learning at CSIA, and I'm here to tell you about the new CSIA Learning Hub, a professional development platform specifically designed for system integrators by system integrators.
Sounds amazing. I hear all the time how challenging it is to find content for system integrators so they can get their people up to speed quickly.
And the content is exceptional, I will say. We've worked with system integrators to create over 20 curated playlists covering essential skills at every level. We have content for team members who need the basics, as well as content for those advancing their expertise. Our skill levels range from building awareness all the way to practicing, entry level to seasoned professional.
Tell me more.
Well, it's an online platform, which means it's super flex. Teams can access training and learn at their own pace, which should be a given in today's digital environment. But what is unique is that each organization gets a customized training site. So learning managers can track progress, generate reports, and really see how their team is developing. So you'll use what CSIA built as a foundation, but from there, you can really customize the experience for your team.
So let's go back to the part where you said it was built for SIs by SIs. How was the content sourced and vetted?
That is a great question. So our playlist curation was led by Eric Schaefer, a true subject matter expert with over 20 years of experience in the system integration space. His expertise guided the selection, organization, and skill level alignment for each playlist. Think of it like Spotify. All the content is there, but imagine having a personal DJ who spent over 20 years getting to know your preferences and tailoring the perfect playlist just for you.
Okay, that sounds super useful for onboarding and developing employees. What's the catch? Is it super expensive?
Not at all. Introductory pricing is just $900 for 2025. With that, you get 4 active learner accounts and a learning manager license.
That's a really great value. There still must be some sort of catch.
No, there really isn't. Well, except that you do have to be a member of CSIA to be able to participate.
Where can people go to find out more?
They can visit www.controlsys.org/learning-hub.
Thank you, Danny.
You're very welcome, Lisa.
Let's move on. What advice would you give to a prospective customer researching you versus a competitor?
There's a lot of competitors out there, but they don't do the same thing, right? And I've had associates tell me, when they made you, they not only broke the mold, but they shot the mold maker. And so they have a lot of decisions they have to make. And so they make their decisions based upon their experience, their limited competencies on that subject, narrow focus on costs or things of that nature. So we have some competitors that can deliver in some of those areas, but not with the maturity or the breadth of offerings that we offer. And sometimes companies go for a cost, and my standard response is, well, okay, I understand. But if you need us, we're still here. Give us a call and move on. And 50% of the time they do, because something happened or it didn't work out the way they thought it would. So, and again, it's just the experience. I've been fortunate to be around a long time in several industries and pretty well known in a couple of communities.
As you're talking to your customers, what are you hearing from them about the challenges they're facing?
Yeah, it's the environment, right? The inflation, the business environment. They're grappling with multiple challenges: rising material costs, supply costs, the ability to get materials in, pressures on their budgets. Another one, certain parts of the country, in Texas particularly, attracting and retaining skilled labor. And, it's all that exasperates the operational constraints of the company. It also goes with unpredictable sales. So you'll see with some of my customer base, if you go to Midland, Texas, up in the northwest area of Texas, things are slowing down a little bit. But if you go to Gulf Coast in Lafayette, Louisiana area, things are going bustling. And it's like, why is this? And I'll talk it over. It may be the type of market there is. It might be their proximity to offshore. Nobody really 100% knows. The other one is the price for the oil industry, right? When the oil comes down, the companies slow down on the drilling, right? Oil price comes down. They slow down on the drilling because they want to make more money on the oil price.
What other kinds of trends and challenges are you seeing?
Yeah, the trends are relating to some of the marketing techniques that we use are not working like they used to. So we deal with social media a lot. The cold calls aren't coming in or, from our customers. Sometimes they do. Making the cold calls aren't working as good. Some of it's because of system maturity, because companies already have a mature system in place. They've developed the competencies. So some of the market share for those types of certifications may be lessening because of rising costs. We see some of that. And so we have to take a look at, how do we approach this a little bit differently? So it may be price adjustments that we have to make, writing more technical articles and publishing them, writing about something that might be maybe a little controversial, right? Maybe not wanting to pick a fight, but try to get the response out of somebody, right?
Right.
And it's about like, well, the new revision of this standard is good, but it really missed these things.
Yeah.
And I expect all type of fireback and nothing, some surprise. So, but anyway, it's a challenge these days. So again, it's innovation, right? And that's where we have to go.
100%. What makes you optimistic about the future?
I think the changes, right? There's all types of neat things that are coming up. So you have the evolving, revolving business climate, evolving or revolving, right? Depending on what it is. You have different advancements that companies have to make really quick. You have process automation that's coming up. You have artificial intelligence. That's the big brouhaha on LinkedIn and other places, right? What are we going to do with artificial intelligence? It's going to kill us. How ISO has a new standard on artificial intelligence on how to audit it, right? Communication technologies, new innovative products, new raw materials, right? The development of new standards to handle all these things. So with that, in my case, it's exciting because now, no matter how long I've been in the career, I want to learn something new. And then how do you apply that into what you're doing? So it's like artificial intelligence. Can I apply that? Yes, I can. There's some different ways to do that, either with writing technical documents to get basic information that you have to recheck to validate it. You know how that works, right? And seeing customers implement these new things. So it helps us come up with new concepts and methods to deal with it.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed that I need to check the work when I'm doing things through. My personal favorite is Claude. Now, I'm not doing anything near the same things that you are, but, just crunching numbers or crunching data or whatever. It'll say things like 3 out of 4 of the companies did this, which means 1/3. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not great at math, but I know the difference between 3/4 and 1/3. So you definitely need to check the work.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So getting a little bit more back to the CSIA, let's talk a little bit about why you think CSIA certification is important for system integrators, but also maybe for their client.
Yeah. So if you look back at what's happening in the industry, what are the new challenges? Looking at all the new technology, artificial intelligence, automation, system integrators are right in the middle of all this, right? It seems like the industries, the new changes have been written for them. It's been scripted, right, by a higher power or something, right? It's out there. So they're facing it. They're doing it organically. It's coming up, day by day as they realize they need to start doing some of these things. It may not be all at once, but they're going to have to integrate into this ever rapid changing business climate, right? It's going to happen. So I think with the CSIA certification, it's going to provide something pretty immediate to them. And that's going to be standardization of their processes, right? It's not an ISO system. It's not a system from aerospace or oil and gas. There's similarities, parallels, but it's a different system to help system integrators specifically. And so standardizing the process is the big thing, and understanding that. It's very important, and I can't stress that as much, is something I've seen in CSIA that I haven't seen in a lot of other organizations, is the sense of community, right? So you have the community and you have the resources. So you could provide them the tools, the peer networks, the marketing groups, which is essential, I think, to business, not to mention the committee support, right? So this not only helps with their business management, their credibility, and maybe their opportunity as a preferred vendor for their customers. So it gives their customers more confidence that, a certified company has a commitment to quality, they're professional, and they're going to be a stronger company to work with, a better partner in the future.
All right, so we're going to switch tracks completely again now and talk a little bit more about you personally. If you had to choose a completely different career, what would you choose?
I don't know if I'd choose anything. I really don't have any inspiration or aspirations to change. I think my path is preventing me opportunities I could never imagine. It's taken me to secret facilities. It's taken me to places with guys with big guns. It's taken me offshore to power plants, to factories, to service companies. It's been some really cool things I've had the opportunity to see. And as I mentioned, that one project in the Middle East, I've been fortunate enough to have several other projects put in my path that were very similar to that in different industries that were quite important, that gave me more credibility and background. And so from that standpoint, I look at myself as being blessed who gets these opportunities. And, there's things like the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. In the year 2000, they had a right of way of renewal assessment, proving that they're operating under regulatory requirements for the state and the federal government. And there was an organization here in Houston that was contracted to do the assessment of the pipeline in accordance with the operator's integrity management system. And they chose me to lead a 12-member team of people for quality, health, safety, environmental, and regulatory audits. And the preparation process was over 3 months, and the actual audit process was 1 month. And we had people up and down the pipeline sampling things. So, I mean, very, very fortunate.
You're a little bit like the Forrest Gump of quality assurance, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. It goes back to you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Until you get there.
100%. Finally, the last question here. What is the best advice you could give your younger self just getting started?
Well, I have to look back at when that was. Now, there's some dating involved in this, right? So it's hard to imagine. It was a different world. Things were simpler, right? There was no internet, no cell phones. Communication relied on telephones, faxes. I don't know if anybody remembers the telex machines. Arranging travel was complicated, a little bit dicey. So I'd jump on a plane with a standby letter of credit in hand and a fax, and hoping somebody was on the other end, someplace in Indonesia, to pick me up. And it was like, are you crazy? I don't know. You can check it out and see what happens, right? So there's a sense of adventure in it. But so I would say, if you're going to do anything, trust your intuition, right? The intuition, trust that inner voice. Like Magnum PI had that little voice he always talked about, right? So it's having that inner voice and then listening to what it tells you.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Talking Industrial Automation. If you're interested in learning more about Bud or QSI or CSE, you can find them on the CSIA Industrial Automation Exchange at www.csiaexchange.com. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Bud, for joining me today.
Thank you, Lisa, and CSIA. It's been my pleasure.
If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also really help the show by leaving a review and sharing with colleagues. We're all just slaves to the logarithm now, so I gotta ask. Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Thanks also to bensound.com and Wistia for the music bumpers. Until next time.